The day my boss fired me, he was wearing the watch I bought him. Not literally bought him, but close enough. It was a polished silver watch, sitting on the wrist of a man who had just stood in front of a room full of executives and presented my idea as if it had come to him in a burst of genius. Then 2 hours later, he called me into his office and said, "You're fired." I did not argue. I did not raise my voice. I went home, opened an old folder in my desk drawer and reread the contract he forgot I signed. 3 days later, his lawyer called me. "My name is Daniel Mercer. I am 46 years old, and for nearly 14 years I worked for a logistics company called Northline Freight Solutions in Cleveland, Ohio. I started there when the company had one small office, 3 delivery vans and a coffee machine that made something closer to hot brown water than coffee. I worked my way up from operations coordinator to regional systems manager. I was never the loudest man in meetings. I did not know how to flatter executives or make ordinary ideas sound revolutionary. I solved problems. That was my job. And for years I was good at it. Then Northline hired Marcus Vane. Marcus was 39, sharp suits, perfect teeth, expensive cologne, and the kind of confidence that made people assume he knew more than he did. He arrived as vice president of operations. Within 6 months he changed the office furniture, replaced half the department managers, and started calling every ordinary task an innovation opportunity. At first I tried to work with him. He asked for data, I gave him data. He asked why drivers were delayed. I gave him reports. He asked why fuel costs were rising. I gave him solutions. I thought we were building something together. I did not realize he was collecting my work, the way a thief collects valuables from a house with the door unlocked. The idea he stole started as a problem nobody wanted to deal with. Our drivers were wasting hours every week sitting at loading docks, waiting for shipments that were not ready. Customers complained. Drivers complained. Dispatch complained. But management kept blaming traffic. So I spent 6 months studying the patterns. I reviewed routes, loading schedules, staffing gaps, fuel records, warehouse reports, customer timing, all of it. Then I created a new system. It was simple on the surface. A scheduling platform that could predict loading delays before trucks arrived, reroute drivers automatically, and notify customers before one missed delivery window became a full disaster. It was not flashy, but it worked. I tested it with 2 smaller warehouses. Within 8 weeks, late deliveries dropped by 31%. Fuel costs fell. Driver overtime went down. Customers who usually called to complain started sending positive emails. For the first time in years, I felt proud of something I built. Not because I wanted applause, because it was useful. I presented the complete plan to Marcus on a Tuesday morning in April. He sat across from me in the conference room, nodding slowly while I explained the pilot results. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "This could change the company," he said. I smiled. That was the last kind thing he said to me. For the next month, Marcus asked for more. Updated reports, vendor notes, financial projections, the full system outline. Every time I sent what he requested, because he was my boss, because I believed hard work eventually speaks for itself. That was my mistake. One Monday morning, Northline announced an executive strategy meeting. Every department head was invited. I was not. At first, I assumed it was an oversight. Then I saw Marcus walking down the hallway, carrying a presentation folder with a blue cover. The same blue cover I always used for my project reports. I stopped him. "Marcus, what is the meeting about?" He did not slow down. "Big changes," he said. "You'll hear about it soon." Then he smiled. That smile told me everything. By lunch, the office was buzzing. Marcus had unveiled something called the Smart Route Efficiency Program. He stood in front of the executive board and presented my system. My charts, my numbers, my pilot results, even the phrase I used on the opening slide, "The road is expensive when you arrive too late." He said it like it belonged to him. The executives loved it. They clapped. They shook his hand. The CEO called it the future of Northline. Marcus got a standing ovation. I got an email at 3:42 that afternoon. "Please come to my office." When I walked in, Marcus was standing near the window. His silver watch caught the sunlight. He did not offer me a seat. "Daniel," he said, "the company is moving in a different direction." Everyone knows that sentence. It is corporate language for, you are about to lose something. We are restructuring, he continued. Your role is being eliminated. I looked at him. My role? Yes. The role connected to the program you presented this morning. For the first time, his expression changed, just slightly. Then he smiled again. That program is now under executive leadership. I stood there quietly. He thought I was shocked. Maybe I was, but not the way he expected. I asked him one question. Are you saying I am being fired because my job no longer exists? He folded his hands. I am saying the company no longer needs your position. Then he slid a folder across the desk. 2 weeks of severance, a non-disclosure agreement, a reminder that all company property belonged to Northline. I looked at the folder, then at him. Thank you, I said. Marcus blinked. Thank you? Yes. I picked up the folder and walked out. No shouting, no threats, no speech in the hallway, but something inside me changed, not anger. Clarity, because Marcus had made one mistake. He assumed I had only been working for Northline. He forgot I had been protecting myself too. That night, I sat at the small desk in my home office. My wife Karen brought me tea and sat beside me without asking questions. After a few minutes, she said, Did they fire you? Yes. Why? I looked at her. Because my boss took my work. She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Do you have proof? I opened the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside was a folder marked Independent Work Product. 2 years earlier, Northline had required every manager to attend a legal seminar about employee contracts. Most people ignored it. I did not. The company made us sign updated employment agreements. Buried in the middle was a clause about independent intellectual property. Anything created outside company hours, using personal equipment, without company software or internal resources, remained the employee's property unless it had been specifically assigned to the company in writing. And I had been careful. Very careful. The first version of SmartRoute was not created at Northline. I built it at home. On my own laptop. Using public traffic data, personal notes, and a scheduling model I designed on weekends. Northline had access to the pilot version, but they never signed an ownership assignment for the algorithm itself. Marcus had taken the finished model, the private logic, the part that made it valuable. He had taken something he did not legally own. I spent the next 2 days collecting everything. Time-stamped files, email records, drafts, personal notebooks, screenshots, original code, the signed contract. Then I called an attorney. Her name was Helen Ortiz. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said one sentence. Daniel, do not contact Marcus again. That was when I knew this was real. Helen reviewed every document. Then she confirmed what I suspected. Northline owned reports I created during work hours. But the predictive routing algorithm belonged to me. And Marcus had presented it publicly as company property without permission. Worse, he had filed internal paperwork claiming he developed it. That was not just arrogant. It was dangerous, because the company had already begun discussing licensing the program to outside investors. Investors who were about to buy something Northline did not fully own. The following Friday, Marcus received a letter from Helen. He ignored it. Then Northline's legal department received one too. They did not ignore it. Monday morning, I got a call from an unknown number. A woman introduced herself as the company's general counsel. Mr. Mercer, she said, we need to discuss a contractual issue. I almost smiled. A contractual issue. That is what people call panic, when they are trying to sound professional. She asked if I would come in. I said no. She asked if Helen Ortiz could join the call. I said yes. By Tuesday afternoon, Marcus's lawyer called me directly. His voice was polite. Too polite. Mr. Mercer, he said, my client believes there may have been a misunderstanding. I looked out my kitchen window. Rain was falling softly across the backyard. No, I said, there was no misunderstanding. He paused. Marcus believed the project was developed under company direction. Then why did he fire the person who built it? Silence. That silence was worth more than any apology. Northline suspended the SmartRoute launch. The CEO ordered an investigation. Marcus was placed on leave. And 2 weeks later, the company offered me a settlement. Not because they suddenly respected me, because they understood the cost of pretending I did not matter. I did not go back. That surprised people. They assumed I would want my old office, my title, my parking space, but I did not. Once someone shows you how easily they can erase your name from your own work, you stop wanting a seat at their table. Helen helped me license the system independently. A smaller regional company signed first, then another. Within a year, the idea Marcus called his own was helping companies across 3 states reduce delays and save fuel. And every contract had my name on it. Daniel Mercer. Not executive leadership, not Northline Freight. Me. Marcus lost his job. I did not celebrate. Revenge was never the point. The point was this. He thought firing me would erase me. He thought stealing my work would make him bigger. But a title can give someone authority. It cannot give them ownership of another person's mind. Today I work from home. Karen still brings me tea when I get too focused. I have a smaller office, a better schedule, and no boss standing in front of a room pretending my ideas belong to him. And sometimes I think about Marcus's silver watch. Then I remember the lesson he gave me. Never hand someone the full value of your work simply because they stand above you. Document it. Protect it. And when they try to take it anyway, do not always fight loudly. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is open the contract, find the clause they missed, and let the truth make the call.